I saw in the news Pope Francis made a move to start restricting Latin Mass in the Catholic Church. And my big question is what about Latin X Mass? Do you think about that? Hmm? Welcome to Rumble Book Club. I'm your host, Mike Hernandez, and this is the show where a normal guy like me can talk about interesting books I've read, old and new, good and bad. So if you like the show, you like the content, you like the books that I talk about, or maybe I just have a punchable face. Whatever keeps you clicking. Well, you can follow me on Twitter, Parler, and TikTok, or you can subscribe right down below on YouTube and Rumble. But more importantly, be a part of the conversation. Help this channel grow. Share these videos with your friends. Comment also down below. Let me know if there's any videos or any books that you'd like me to cover on my videos, and I'll be happy to add them to the list, and I might even give you a shout out for recommending me to a good book. Today we're going to take a look at a wonderful book that I read. I'm glad that I finished it. It was part of my reading that I typically do during the 40 days of Lent. But I'm glad I finished it. I'm glad I get to do a video because now I get to share it with you. Today we're going to take a look at Come Be My Light, which is a collection of the private writings of Saint Mother Teresa of Calcutta. The book was edited and commentary was given by Brian Kolodiechuk. I'm probably absolutely slaughtering that name. And for that, I guess he'll just have to forgive me. What went through the mind and the heart of a canonized Catholic saint? What inspired one small woman to tread courageously into the dark and unknown corners of some of the foulest corners on earth? We find out directly from the words and writings of Mother Teresa here. Let's get into our three-part criteria of the book, starting with the aesthetics, what it looks like, how it pops off the shelf, getting into the readability, how it reads, not just mentally and emotionally, your process of reading it, but also physically, how your eyes are able to adjust to the text, the pages, the margins, and then finally to the content, what you're actually getting between the covers. Now let's start with the aesthetics. The cover is a little complex in its design, but that's more typical of religious books, especially Catholic books, which tend to add more ornate design on them. You have a peaceful image here of Mother Teresa in prayer on the left, and then on her right you have a clear title here. It is a little busy with the text, but the colors in the very least stick to a similar theme. Overall, a fairly strong cover, 7 out of 10. Now looking at the readability. Brian, I'm going to keep it to Brian because I'm probably going to butcher his name if I have to say it one more time. Keeps his commentary brisk but descriptive to provide context for each letter and makes only the slightest grammatical adjustments to her letters to provide a smoother read. Her letters are very simple in their language, be them private letters to her fellow sisters and clergymen asking for permission to begin a chapter in Calcutta to help the poorest of the poor and the sickest of the sick, to her letters directly to God. It's 100% theological, so the reader who has zero exposure at all to religious thinking may want to brush up just a bit on basic Catholic beliefs by Catholic writers. I wouldn't go to Richard Dawkins, for instance, to hear about what Catholics have to say. I would go to Catholic sources, learn a little bit, and then diving into this book, it'll make for a little bit smoother of a transition to where you understand some of the things that she's talking about. As far as physically how it reads, you have off-white pages with clear text and good margins. That's always solid, makes it pretty easy on the eyes. So as far as the readability goes, very strong, 8 out of 10. Looking at the content, Mother Teresa was from a small town in Macedonia and had a calling to follow God from the time that she was a little girl. Her family was close and were dedicated Catholics, and she grew up in an overall happy home. She left that home to follow her calling to become a nun, and early in her life, she made a promise to God to give to him absolutely everything and to refuse nothing that was asked of her. One of the things about Mother Teresa is today, she is thought of simply as just a good person who helped the sick and the poor in Calcutta. Pretty boilerplate stuff, which you would see from any missionary. It seems that the attempt has been to water down who she was as an individual. But her letters reveal a struggle far beyond the physical limitations of caring for the lowest of the low in Calcutta. She did have a calling, and she did hear directly from God to help the sickest and the poorest and the most desperate in Calcutta. And she actually had to fight up the chain of command in the Catholic Church to even be allowed clearance to bring in an order of sisters and create an entirely new order to start that mission work there. But what was more impressive was the constant faith and love she kept up for God, even while struggling with an internal darkness and emptiness that she describes in her letters directly as simply unbearable. She gave tirelessly and held herself to a level of discipline and a standard that is in itself inspiring just on the physical practice of waking up at such early hours, the care and the prayer that she put into her work and her sisterhood with the fellow nuns and with the community at large, going into their homes, praying for them. But to do that in the face of her own inner and spiritual darkness is truly a work of living art. Her letters are some of the truest love letters you will ever read in your entire life when you read her direct letters to God. So as far as the content goes, it is a perfect score, 10 out of 10. I really enjoyed this book. It's solid reading, even if you're not a Catholic, even if you're not a Christian. To understand the story of Mother Teresa is something in itself inspiring to humans all across the world of all different regions, and religions, and backgrounds. I found this book at Barnes & Noble. You can find it at your local bookstore. If not, last case scenario, go to Amazon or eBay. The book is Mother Teresa, Come Be My Light. It's a collection of her writings. Go get yourself a copy. Thanks for watching, everybody, and go read something.